On my head.
That's what happened when you get old.
Yes. Okay, so the next step in the process is the planning commission is going to have just some open discussion up here. So it's kind of our turn to talk kind of amongst each other and to ask questions of city staff, maybe of the developer, just to find facts and to find information. I think we all took notes as we listened to all of the presentations and responses. So we'll open up for discussion. And do we need to make a motion for that, or are we good just to discuss?
do it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Whoever wants to go.
Well, I'll start it off because I've got about 3 pages of questions that I need answered. Most of them are very simple, but it's for the developer. I misunderstood. I thought you said that there was not an appeal, and then I hear that there is. So is this, are you facing litigation still with this project?
There was an appeal filed in the final day of the appeal window.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there is
Yeah.
an appeal.
There is.
Okay. All right, I was under the impression that there was not until, okay. If it's voted down, you said you're gonna make it happen regardless, correct?
Yes, sir. That's the
Okay,
plan.
so if we vote 5-0 for it not to happen, you're pushing forward, correct?
Yes, sir. That's the
Okay,
plan.
thank you, that's what I need to know.
One thing you need to understand, we don't approve or disapprove it. We recommend to city council. They make the final decision on this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
On the video, I saw the R1 were brick houses. The pictures you showed us were siding. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Well, we do different different houses, different facade types in different neighborhoods. Right now, the trend, what's in vogue, is very much the farmhouse style. I think you can ask anybody in the industry. A lot of people really wanting that. It's the cement fiberboard and the stone and the stained, columns, things like that. That's very much the style. Styles go in and out. We try to meet them, but at the end of the day, whatever we do, we try to do something nice, something better than our competition is our goal.
So you're talking
Sir.
vinyl, or maybe hardy plank?
We, in the luxury section, would not say that's vinyl. No, sir. You get into the entry level section and you get into the area where people are just trying to get a monthly payment to afford to live. That extra $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 on a house sometimes can work them out of it. So I would say in the entry level section, probably vinyl. But we have stone on everything we do. I don't have any houses that is just totally siding. We have nothing that's totally siding.
I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, but I
Yes,
want
sir.
to make sure before
Yeah.
I vote, because
Yes, sir.
you're worried about people seeing you in the community. I've got to go home.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yep.
So, the lady from the northern end of the county that spoke to the water runoff, can you tell us, was that your development?
No, sir.
It was not your development?
No, sir, it was not.
Okay.
I'm not even aware of the development.
Okay.
Yep.
Talking about clear cutting property,
Yes, sir.
are you gonna come in and clear cut it all the first day?
No,
Or are
sir.
you gonna do as you need, and that goes along with putting in the infrastructure?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you decide to pull out in 3 years, you're gonna be stuck with a neighborhood of roads and nothing else.
Yes, sir. Good question. So our plan would be to develop the property in around 5 phases. So we're only disturbing land as we put in a phase. And so, the risk of us going in and clearing an entire site of 300 acres and putting in all that infrastructure, that would be a kind of a waste of capital to just bury into that, right? It would not make sense from a financial standpoint. It wouldn't make sense from a banking standpoint. That was one of my jobs too earlier in life. And so you want to go phase by phase. It's good for investment, probably good for the city too. You don't want this 300 acres of scorched earth look, right? And it's not gonna look good for the neighborhood either. So our plan is to do it in at least 5 phases. It could be more. And it's an as needed basis as we see how the houses are selling. So
Over what time period?
I would say our estimate is 10 to 12 years. That would all depend on, different paces. You can have delays in development, all kinds of different things can happen. But I would, 10 to 12 is our goal and our estimate.
Okay. Maintaining the public areas, is that gonna be covered by the HOA? What about the detention ponds? If they fill in with silt, they're no longer working correctly, the water's gotta go somewhere, who's in charge of those?
The common areas will be, the property will be entirely encumbered in an HOA for maintenance purposes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And my engineer is here, so please answer the question on the silt, the retention ponds.
Good evening,
I
Chrissy
don't
Terrell
know.
Drake with Blue Water Civil Design, we're the engineers on the project. To speak to your questions about the stormwater ponds, so during construction, that is maintained by the contractor on site and the developer. So until the ponds are as-built and inspected by the city and DES and us as the engineers and sign off that they're good to go and we can close out that construction permit, they will be maintained, cleaned out, and monitored by the developer. Now, when you do go to close it out and you have it in its permanent condition, that's when it gets turned over to the HOA for maintenance, and that's covered in the covenants.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I have some friends that live close by, they're getting flooded out every time that river floods. I just wanna make sure that we're not adding to that.
Yes, sir. By law, we are required to either meet what is happening now or reduce those flows up through the 100-year.
Okay. I've heard a lot of people tonight talk about 2,200 R3 lots. What differentiates yours from what's being built now?
I would say, outside of us being the local developer and builder and building a better product in-house, I'd say the development agreement that we're proposing, our willingness to work with the city on those items. Our goal is to put something in place that the city sees as beneficial and per your vision, but also be able to build homes that are affordable enough for more than just luxury housing, right? We like to approach multiple citizens, not just one set of buyers. And so I'd say the differentiation is none of those R3 are probably 18 to 20 feet between the houses. They're probably 15. I'd say of those R3, they're probably all going to sit somewhere around the 6,000 square foot range, which we're saying we'll go 7,500. Our goal is to build something better, but also approach firemen, police officers, the people that are critical to a city, bring something they can afford.
Talk to us about financing, because I know
Sure.
some of these neighborhoods have in-house financing. How do you go about financing?
Yes, sir. So outside of the equity we have in the company, which we have a strong enough balance sheet where we are backed and banked by the largest banks in the nation, the Regencies of the world, the Truists of the world, they've all signed on to Miranda Homes. And they've tested our balance sheet and they've tested our strength. And they are a full green light and go for projects with us. And we're not on a project by project basis. We actually have a line of credit with them because we have been in operation since 1993, and those big banks have worked with us since 1993. And when we started Miranda Homes, when all those big banks had a pause and a moratorium on accepting new business, they accepted us. They accepted us, but not as new business, but as existing, because they know that we're stable. They know that we've been doing this since '93, and they gave us hundreds of millions in bank lines for financing. And I can back that up. And so,
Answer the question.
yes, sir.
How are you gonna provide financing?
To the
I providing
buyers.
finance?
Are you talking about to the
Oh,
buyers?
To the home buyers. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
My question is, do these buyers have to go through Arthur State or Wells Fargo?
Oh,
or
okay.
can
The other
they
end.
financing?
Yes, sir. No, sir, we do not have an in-house lender. I know a lot of the big national builders do. We don't do an in-house lender, but we do have lenders that are very good, and they offer financing for all of our houses in all of our neighborhoods. There's plenty of those sources out there. I think if you're in the real estate industry, there's plenty of good lenders. But no, sir, we are not a mortgage. We don't have a mortgage business. Sorry.
Okay. Just a couple more questions.
Yep.
The wetland areas,
Yes, sir.
All right, are you just gonna leave them as they are today? Or are you gonna cut them and say, hey, this is a wetland area and water runs through there? Well, what is your plan for that?
So on that site plan, and I'm definitely gonna let my engineer speak up on this, but on the site plan, you'll see some dark green areas that represent, the wetland areas, but I'll let her.
So we're required to provide buffers to those wetlands, and you cannot disturb a wetland area in any capacity without a state and nationwide permit that's from the Corps of Engineers. The only places that you would have that type of permitting happen would be those roadway crossings. That is standard with construction. We have an environmental consultant and engineer that goes through that permitting process with the Corps. They review it, they sign off on it. There's no construction that happens outside of those areas.
Okay. Couple more, two more. We were looking at the map earlier, and it looks like one of those back rows of homes butts right up to the little river. Do you have a plan to keep those from flooding?
Here. Yes, sir. Well, that would go into the wetland study that was done, established where the floodplains are, correct? And I mean, you'll probably better to speak to this, but it established where the floodplains are and all the house paths and lots of.
Correct. So any impervious infrastructure that we would be adding, all of that stormwater runoff goes into a detention pond on site. It holds that water so that it matches up through that 100-year flow level from either existing, or it actually lowers a lot of those flows, and then it'll discharge out over a 24 to 72 hour period. So it does not encumber that area all at once.
Okay, I'm thinking, I'm owning a home right there. That river floods, it's gonna come up to my back door possibly. You know, what are our plans for that?
Sure. So we don't have any homes inside an actual designated delineated floodplain area. And even if we do so, there are stipulations to what elevation a home pad can be at adjacent to those. It's typically about 6 feet higher. Our elevation is high enough. We won't have homes closer than 15, 20 feet in elevation to where that flood line would actually lie.
All right, let's see.
15 to 20 feet in elevation.
That's correct. So when it floods, it has a certain elevation that water line gets to. Our homes are sitting high enough up that that's not even going to be a concern for those sites.
I got a question. Was your flood study done by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers?
It is what is on the actual FEMA map. So
Now, that
we
didn't
don't
answer my
need-
question. Did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers do your study and hand you a study they prepared?
Me personally,
Yeah.
no,
They-
sir. What we
Anybody
use-
involved with this? Did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers do a report and give you and say, this is our report, this is our finding?
There is an established flood study for that piece of property that the Corps, whoever is responsible,
Okay,
provided that.
so your
That
answer is
is
no,
what
that's what I
our
expected.
line
Thank you.
work is all
Thank
for.
you. You answered my question. I have some major concerns about this that I've looked at, and I've given this a tremendous amount of thought. Worked harder on this request than I have on the last 10 requests we've looked at, because there's a lot here. The main concern I keep hearing from everybody is traffic. And you're gonna have a certain amount of traffic coming out of that subdivision. Once it's built and once that traffic comes out, there's nothing that can be done to fix it at that point. It's gonna be there and there's nothing you can do to it. You can add a turn lane, you can do a lot of things to try to mitigate it, but there's still, the volume of traffic is gonna be there, and there's really no way to fix it. I don't mind fixing problems that can be fixed, but I'm really wary of problems that cannot be fixed. And to me, the traffic problem is a problem that cannot be fixed later. And we won't know how bad it is until the development happens, which is unfortunate because I don't think we want to go there. Do you know what your infrastructure is going to cost for the entire development? And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about roads, curbing, sidewalks, water lines, sewer lines, underground utility, electric lines, all the infrastructure that has to be done in a development like this. Do you have any idea what that's going to cost you?
So you're running every bit of, I'd say 25, 30 at least million.
$30 million. Wow. That shows how much I know. I didn't estimate it to be near that much. That's staggering.
There's a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I knew that. That's why I asked the question, because that's a lot. Okay, that's shocking. That is shocking.
That entire cost will be borne by the developer.
Yes, sir.
100%, yeah. 100%, yeah. Thank goodness, because we ain't got $30 million, do we, Joe? I didn't think so. Another thing that concerns me is just the magnitude of the development, the sheer number of lots in it. I know how many we've approved, and I know how the construction is moving along and how the sales are moving along. My wife gets on to me, but I ride through these developments every week. Some of them I ride through a couple times a week just to go see what they look like, what progress they're making, to see if what we were told was it's happening. And it is, but it's moving slowly. I have to say it's moving very slowly. 2,200 home sites is a lot of home sites for the city of Clinton. And I'm thinking it's going to take quite a while for us to build and absorb those. And now we're talking about putting 490 more on top of that. I'm an optimistic person, but I am not that optimistic. I don't see that happening. I'm not sure 10 years. I don't know, but I just think what I see tells me that that's going to be very difficult to handle. And we're going to have other requests too. My concern about that is if we get started 6, 7, 8 subdivisions, which we already have them underway now, Phil, 6 or 7. We get a bunch of subdivisions started, everybody's going to start building, everybody's going to start selling houses, and then when the demand drops off, which it will, then we're going to be stuck with a bunch of partially finished subdivisions, which is going to be unattractive, and it's going to be bad for the people doing them. It's going to make it where nobody's going to really have a successful development. And I've seen that happen. I'm old enough to remember 2008. 2008 was a real education for a lot of people in the real estate business. And another 2008 is coming. I don't know when. It may be next year, maybe 10 years from now, but I know that everything goes in cycles, and I've been around long enough and was in banking long enough to see some cycles come around. And when the downturn comes, it's really tough and it's really ugly. It's not where anybody wants to be, but it's the nature of the business and it's the nature of development. And I think even more so in a town the size of Clinton, that's my major concerns in saying that. I just don't think there's anything that we can really control about that. You just hope it's going to turn out good. I agree with just about everything you said. You're not going to grow unless you have housing for workers. People are not going to come here and open businesses until you have housing. But how much do we need? And I've asked that question at several meetings. Exactly how much do we need? I don't know. I don't think it's 5,000. I don't think it's 2,000 even. I think it's a number less than that, and we're already there. And we got way more R3 houses approved than I think we're going to absorb in the next 10 years, in my opinion. Adding even more is just going to make everybody be unsuccessful, which is not good for anybody. I would have to say, with what you've presented and what I've read in our comprehensive plan about what we have designated, we spent a lot of time on our comprehensive plan. Phil has worked very hard on that with us, and he's worked very hard on it. And I think it would not be very smart for us to take a comprehensive plan that we just redone, and then say, well, the first time we get a chance to test that, we're going to deviate from that and do something the comprehensive plan is telling us not to do. I don't think that's a very wise thing for us to do.
Just to clarify, the comprehensive plan identifies this property as medium density residential, which would be an allowed use for this property that they're proposing.
Well, low density, not medium density, not high density, and that's what some of this property obviously is in R2 and R3. Talk about the lot sizes being square footage, but they're rectangular shape. The frontage is still the same. So when you build those houses and line them up, they're still going to be pretty close together in that R3 area and that R2 area. And
But density is how much is within a defined area,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's the number of units
That-
per defined area, so
That's
it doesn't
correct.
matter
And we
whether
have
it's
a
long
1.6
and skinny or.
density,
Yeah.
And I believe medium density, I think, is somewhere around 5.
Yes, page 11-14 of your proposed plan identifies this property specifically as medium density residential, which this development is 1.6 dwelling units per acre, which is well below what the medium density would allow.
And kind of on that, I wanted to ask, so I'm just thinking back through, we do have a lot of subdivisions that have been approved. I know that there's an R2 that's on Highway 56 close to the interstate, the old Dutton tract. But everything else, I believe, is either cluster, which is East Main, and R3 R3, am I right?
Plan development.
And the planned development. So an R1 is not, we don't have any R1s in the,
If I'll go back to your plan, you have an excessive amount of R1 zoning. You don't have enough R2 or R3 zoning, which I'm
Right.
including RS2,
Right.
RS3 into that combination. But the plan and all the information that has been identified within that plan shows there is not diversity in housing. There's
Right.
not diversity in housing type,
right,
value, price point. So they're proposing 3 different price points, 3
Right.
different products on a property just outside the city limits, which it identifies with a number of the objectives that you have identified within the plan.
right. Okay.
Okay, I missed a question. Can you tell us your price points again for R1, R2,
Yeah, I have
and
that.
R3?
Yes, sir. I'll start with R3. You know, the goal there, typically to get an affordable house, when I'm looking, you know, to hit workforce, right, is going to be a high 200s to low 300s. When you look at a R2S, which actually Fox Bank was mentioned earlier, that's in the mid 300s. Actually, the houses you see there are on the slide there, the 40-foot house on the R2S section. Those are not our luxury. So the mid 300s makes sense. And so that's that. And then the luxury house that you saw was the last slide. Really nice house, big square footage. You know, those I would look for anywhere from the high 300s to high 400s. You get buyers, there's a bigger range there because buyers will buy anything from a ranch to the big 4,000 square foot houses, right? So there's a big swing in that one, typically.
How many square feet?
Sir, the luxury, the R1, typically those are going to run between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. Typically, they can go all the way down to 2,800. That's usually what you do in the luxury for us, at least. Yeah.
So you take 3,000 to 4,000 feet, that's just go 32,000.
3,200.
3,200 feet.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. You take the square root of that, you got about, that house is about 57 feet by 57 feet.
Yes, sir. The way we do them is they're 52 wide to 55 wide, and they run to be about 60 to 70 deep, somewhere around in there, and some of them can get deeper than that.
And
Yes, sir.
that's picking 3,200 square feet, square root,
Yeah.
that's 57 feet wide.
You're better at math than I am.
And you can't fit that on a 75-foot lot.
What's that?
Yes, sir. That's why those houses, that's why those lots are 10,000 square feet on the plan, and that's why I'm willing to put that in the development agreement. Then we'll do that.
I mean, what other numbers?
75 on frontage.
Frontage? Yes, sir. There.
For the frontage, you subtract out 57 feet, you only got about that.
Well, there
13
are.
I'm still not committed.
Yes, sir.
I'm not committed to that.
Our houses are 52 foot wide in that lineup. They all are. Yes, sir.
We're not building square houses,
No, sir.
we're talking bowling alleys.
I wouldn't say they're bowling alleys. No, sir. That's pretty common for the luxury buyer. If you look at it in that, if you check all home builders, it's pretty common.
I'm going to give you a break, and I'm going for Carl now. So, Carl, tell us about impact fees and, just tell us about how impact fees and this development will happen. As long as we can hear you.
The impact fees for this neighborhood is just a little bit over $2.3 million, over the span of the entire build-out. The permitting fees is roughly $600,000 over the build-out. And then when we factor in, when I looked at a 10-year spread, if I took Patrick's plan and built over a 10-year period and finished out the neighborhood, that's a total impact of $6.4 million to the city.
That's a one-time fee.
Those are one-time, well, no.
The impact fee is.
The impact fees are so count about $3 million in one-time fees, and the rest is property taxes. Now, the thing that I find very interesting about this is, we've all seen the budget process that we went through. My budget, I've been here for coming on 3 years in September. The general fund does not have any room for error. And luckily enough, I'm able to, I have met all our revenue goals every year by the skin of my teeth, but I've also kept our spending in check. But when we get in issues where we have, you know, we need a new fire truck. A new fire truck is $800,000, $900,000 for just an engine. The ladder truck that we just bought for $450,000 used, if we bought that, that was $2.5 million new. The city doesn't have the capacity anymore to handle these things. So when I look at why this neighborhood is important, it's because right now the city's biggest revenue generator is the utility fund. So I have to take $2.5 million from the utility fund every year to make sure that operations stay in the general fund, that we can fund police and fire and everything like that. So, you know, when we talk about the baseball fields, the commercial coming with that, the industry coming with the ballparks, the 400 to 500 jobs that that's going to bring, and that's going to bring it at a R2, or excuse me, probably more of an R3 level. That's important for us to have that level of buildings in our city. But the ball fields and that commercial development and things like Cambridge and all the other developments are pushing, where I'm trying to push to with our budget at city is to get the general fund to be functioning by itself. These things happen, these things really make a huge impact. This one neighborhood right now, I bring in, well, the city brings in about, this year we brought in $1.5 million in property tax. Not vehicles, just homes. This neighborhood alone is $700,000 to $800,000. So right now you've made up almost half, you've almost added 50% to my revenue potential with this one neighborhood.
Over
So-
12 years.
No. That's every year. That's every year.
But he said it's gonna take 12 years to develop.
Well, obviously, yes, it's going to take time to develop it. We're not going to be there right away, but as it develops, it has the potential. When it's fully developed, it has a huge impact on where we are financially. Listen, I don't sit here and promote a neighborhood just because I want to have, you know, I need the money. We need the money. But we want to do it responsibly, and what we like working with Patrick. I actually know through other contacts that I have from the Columbia area, I know his partner. I know the people that work with him. He's been a very successful builder down in the Columbia area. You know, we want to see, we see like Patrick said, the advantage here is a neighborhood with 3 different price points. It's a neighborhood that recruits. I had a whole presentation ready for tonight, but one of the things that we have done with the baseball park in the land in the back corner of Lawrence County, we have a census tract that is in Clinton that we just registered for the Opportunity Zone. What the Opportunity Zone does is it takes, if you made $1 million, now you're gonna have to pay capital tax on that $1 million. You can now invest that into an Opportunity Zone investment, defer those taxes, and if you leave it in long enough, not only do you defer those taxes, but you eliminate the taxes on that investment, that any gains you get on that. So now that opens up for us to really recruit for our industrial park, which is right across the highway from the baseball fields. That's huge for this area because we're trying to bring back, we can't bring back the downtown, we can't bring back jobs unless we have rooftops. These are all, it's not, you know, let's build a house and then we can go recruit business. Well, or let's recruit business and then we'll figure
Well,
out
we're
houses.
broke, we just gotta have money, right?
We can't do that, yes. The funny thing is, Michael Addison sent me a news clip right when we were going through our budget process. And it came from the Clinton Chronicle and it was saying how the general fund was taking money from the utility fund. And I was like getting really mad because they were getting the numbers wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at it and this article is from 1991. This is a problem that the city has had for a long time. When I look at this from a financial standpoint and what we want to, Joey and I work hard every day to, come up with a plan. We have a hole over there on Musk Road that needs to be filled. We have a downtown that I would say is at least half empty. It looks horrible when people come through here. So the most important thing for us to do is, we can't, the one solution is not just building more houses. Houses are great, they provide us utilities, they provide us, property tax, but it's the business and the commercial aspect that comes with it. And then that opens it up to bring it to the industrial park where we can really
Right.
make a difference.
So I wanted to pull the impact fees back into that too, just to make sure I'm
Yeah.
understanding, because
Yeah.
the impact fees, it's been a while since we talked about them. So it covers fire protection, police protection, and recreation?
Correct.
Okay, so am I hearing correctly? If this is in the county,
We don't get that. We don't get
okay, what does the county provide for, they'll do the sheriff, sheriff will do the police protection, but what does the county provide for the fire protection? Does the city still have to protect that area?
Yes. And we are we have a fire contract with the county that we cover a certain distance outside of the city. So that would fall under that. I can tell you that contract pays for maybe two, maybe three firefighters. It doesn't cover a whole lot.
Okay.
So having the base here, and if that neighborhood goes to the county, guess what? We get zero. That's the thing. So, it's a fine balance from a financial standpoint. When I first came here, it was a lot of cleanup. Now I'm in the point where we're cleaned up, we're moving, we're getting our processes corrected, straightened out, we're getting to where we need to be. But I looked at this 10 different ways. I mean, the only way the city survives without, cutting services in the future is growth. And it's growth, not just houses, it's business. We gotta get business here. We've gotta get jobs here. We gotta fill our schools. These are all things that we think about every day.
Thank you. And I did, if I can go one more time.
Sure.
I need to be reminded on the traffic study thing, because I know the trouble with the traffic study is that you can't do it until it's too late. Not the traffic study, but when they actually say do this or do that. Can y'all expand and re-explain, please?
That's a little bit out of my.
Is that Joey? Is that Patrick? Is whoever?
That's probably,
I can answer on
Yes.
that. So there is a specific traffic engineer that was contracted to handle this. They went to school for that specific engineering. They write a report, they take the traffic counts. I think the key that you're talking about is school is out right now. You can't get traffic counts when school is not in session. So I believe they limit it to at least 2 weeks after school is in session because people are back to regular traffic patterns. We did do the traffic study originally when we had that 600 lot plan that was done during school hours, during the peak times, that's 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. are the typical peak hours. And came back with those studies. They look at the level of service of that road as it currently stands. They analyze it with our subdivision, with other developments going around in the area, and then they also analyze it with a 2 or 3% growth on top of that. And that's where they come up with those resolutions of if you need a right turn lane at your entrances, maybe a left turn lane associated with the projects. And when they did the analysis on this one based on the existing traffic counts and then taking into account that future growth, that's where they came up with at each entrance there would be a decel, so a right turn lane into the subdivision.
So would you say, in your opinion, or would the traffic person, from knowing them, having a 12-year span for the development to come to fruition, does that help engaging that traffic and creating the best way to manage it?
Absolutely, it definitely benefits it. It's not like you're gonna have an extra 1,000 vehicle trips per day on day one of that subdivision being installed. With it being a 10 to 12-year period, there could be other improvements associated along that highway as well from other developments, whether they be commercial or residential, that also will help with any traffic concerns in the area.
Thank you.
Heather, can I throw one other thing in there too? Just to clarify on impact fees. Impact fees are not things that we get to use. They're not revenue that we can pull in and use in our general, operations.
Right.
They have to be capital type items that we spend on. So this is how we develop our city. This is how we fund new fire trucks. This is how we fund, let's say we wanted to put an amphitheater in at the ballpark, at our ballparks that we build. That's how we fund things like that. Instead of going out and getting bonds. The city has very limited borrowing capacity because our tax base is so low that, there's not that many options that we can do things like that. These allow us to do those bigger projects.
Yeah, one more comment we're trying to say, just to give you a little extra.
So I contacted, Heath Davis again, I contacted a traffic DOT engineer today that works for DOT, and I asked him about this road, because I wanted to understand a little bit more about it. He said, he looked it up, and he said that, of course, 56 is one of your main roads, but he said that he has 2 lanes that has 15 to 20,000 cars on it a day. That's considered high. He said this road has 2,900 cars a day. Now, with that being said, I heard earlier that someone said that it would never be a red light there, would never be anything there. That's not how anybody works. I'm sure if you go down a lot of those
That
red
is how it
lights-
works.
Yeah.
We checked with them. We talked to the head engineer in Greenwood. They're not gonna put a red light on that road under any circumstances because there's a red light at the ring road. And they're not gonna stop truck traffic and slow it down coming through there. There's already too much, and if you put a red light there, it's just gonna make it 10 times worse.
So
That's not gonna happen.
understand something.
Yeah.
You said that they said they would never put a red light down there?
Am I right?
Never put a red light down there?
Not in our lifetime, let me put it that way. Not while any of us are gonna see it. And some of y'all are pretty young in this room, I take that into account. It's
Let
not
me tell you
gonna
something, sir.
happen. Yeah, it's just.
I'm
not gonna
retired,
happen.
I'm a retired state trooper,
Mhm.
and I've seen red lights.
Thank you for your service,
And
yeah.
I've seen red lights
Yeah.
and yield signs and intersections change through that.
Yeah.
I don't know who told you that. I wish I would know who told you that.
I can find
Because
out.
I've seen it over my years being a state trooper, that things do
Find out.
change. So, and this is 10 years of change.
Yeah.
This is not right away. You're not gonna have.
Well, I know. I just know what I've personally observed in the last 3 to 4 years on Highway 56. And it's stunning, the increase in traffic. And I don't know why, but I know the truck traffic is exponentially increased. I don't know why that is. I don't know if truckers have suddenly found a new route to come the back way through to save time or whatever, but I go out that road every day, back and forth every day, 2 or 3 times a day. I used to see, going out to where my son lives, I'd meet one truck, maybe 2. I sat at my driveway in my farm right up from his road the other night and counted 16 trucks come by at about 5:30 in the afternoon. And where they were coming from and where they were going, I have no clue, but I counted 16. There was a few cars mixed in. I didn't count the cars. I just counted the 18-wheelers. I've never seen that kind of traffic on that road, and I've lived here over 30 years, and I've never observed that.
Yes,
I don't know
sir.
where it's coming from. I wish I did.
And I respect that. I know a lot of times in the past, if we had areas that was having more wrecks or fatalities or anything like that, we would ask, the state would ask, or our attorney that worked a wreck would ask, or whatever. And then you'd see those little black, strips across the road, and then studies would
Well,
be
they're
done.
counting, yeah.
Studies would be done, and red
Yeah.
lights or whatever would be put up. So
Yeah.
that was very surprising when I heard that, to be honest with you. And like I said, I would love to know that engineer that
I'll find
said
it
that.
out.
But I just want to tell you one thing. I appreciate y'all seeing this, and I appreciate everyone that's in here. I don't know if people really realize what, I guess you do, but I don't know if they know, but it was 500 and some homes that there's a good possibility it's gonna come there. You know, it could go to court and things happen, just say a 50-50 chance, okay? You know, but if so, that's 500 something homes. He came to you of taking out 100 homes, putting a park there, and by working with your city, it was, a lot of residents wanted, restaurants and stuff. So we came up with a plan that would help your city, took out the marginal profits to make this 100 home less and add commercial there. And we said that we would sit with him, to even help, and to help zoning to put certain things not in that area. Things that your normal family couldn't walk into, which no developer ever hardly does that, you know. And we were doing something that was going to not only make y'all proud, but make us proud. So that's the biggest thing I want y'all to think about in y'all. And I will tell you this, from stormwater, if you don't have that stuff right, sir, DHEC is not going to approve it. And they're down there, they send a guy down there all the time, or a person down there all the time checking while you're doing stuff. That's to protect the neighbors, your county, your city. And, you know, and I can tell you a project this big, even though it sounds big, it takes a long time to do it. And if something happened, you still got beautiful pastures and stuff out there. You know, because it developed from the start on. And if something stopped, you still have those beautiful pastures out there. We're not cutting down the trees, the hardwoods that's in the flood zones and stuff. And the ponds are there, we're leaving them. And then creating new stuff and everything. And I just want to tell you, if before you consider this, please consider the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
In the traffic
Go
study
ahead
is,
with your questions, go ahead with your questions.
well, I was gonna say on the traffic study, if you don't mind, the final update of that, so we go, right now, this is a zoning and annexation meeting, not a site plan approval meeting. So we will go through this is a recommendation to city council, then we go to city council, then we go to a second reading if we are annexed and zoned. Then at that point, we will come back to you where you have the opportunity to approve the site plan. That is when the final traffic study update is done and given to you. And that's statewide. So just, there was a comment on the age of it, that it's done once we come back to you.
Okay, how long, you know, if you guys pulled your permits tomorrow, what are we looking at? How long before the house shows up out there?
Development permits?
Yeah, well, no, how long before a house?
Yes, sir.
Shows up out there and is ready to be sold?
Everything goes well, sitting from right here where we sit today?
Yeah.
2 years. Probably,
That's
right?
probably very realistic.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Given the infrastructure construction, I think that's very realistic.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And once again, what, if you get denied here, you're going forward anyway, correct?
100%.
If you
Yes, sir.
lose your appeal, what is the next step?
Well, highly low chance there, so I don't think we will. Like I said, I've never in my career seen 1-1 on 3 counts. You barely see them 1-on-1.
Yeah.
But we're going to go forward. We've already come out of due diligence on it and put our money hard down on it. So we've doubled down on the property. We're going forward with it.
So if the property is not annexed, you build it according to the county? I mean,
Well,
what I hear you saying, something's going there regardless of what happens.
Yes, sir.
All right, so, you know, it's just a matter of whether it's annexed and the city gets the money or,
Yes, sir.
you know, or not.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to be boxed into that corner.
Yeah.
I'd really prefer to build with the city. I think it's the right way. I think it's the right route. I think it's more beneficial to the city. We're so close to the city. Why would we not be in the city? Why would the city not have control? And honestly, our plan that we're presenting to the city is way better than what we've got approved in the county, just to be honest, when you have the parks and all that, so.
One thing about the county is they only have one size lot in their subdivisions, correct? They
Uh,
don't count like
no, sir.
zones, they got one size.
No, sir. The county plan is basically R1, R2S, R3S. I can pull it back up if you want to pull it back up. It's the exact same
I
lot
would need to verify
sizes.
Because I was told they have one
Yes, sir.
size in their subdivision.
It's in the packet. You can pull it up, and at the top left of that site plan, you'll see the lot sizes. You can compare those lot sizes with the current site plan I'm showing you, the top left box, and you'll see that it's R1, R2S, and R3S already approved. They just don't have that zoning because the county is by right? So I didn't have to get zoned R1, R2S, R3S. I just had to meet the ordinance as it stood. So in the packet, just look at the top left corner of, it should be in there. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
This is a really tough call for us. I mean, this is the biggest thing we've looked at, and I've given this more thought and spent more time working on this than any subdivision request we've gotten.
Yes, sir.
And I can just tell you, I'm not for it. I did not have a good feeling about it, and I would not support it at all.
Sir.
Willie?
One thing I like to say is, in my opinion, there's no need for any commercial zoning out there. We got 3 shopping centers that are closed, and some of them got empty spaces in it, not counting anything downtown. So there is, you won't talk about today, not in the future. But today, there is no demand for retail space or anything. They're just not gonna come here. We don't have the population for it. And one reason Cracker Barrel didn't come here, because I talked to Cracker Barrel too, is they couldn't find enough help to run it. That was one of their main reasons.
That's Holmes.
There was not enough people living here, and that's true nearly everywhere you go. You can't find help.
Yes, sir.
So it's not because we don't have houses, it's because we didn't have people, period.
Well, we gotta have houses to have people, but, yes, sir,
And we talked about
Yeah.
this thing before, and we should have R1 there. And there shouldn't be anything else there but R1. And it's gonna still be crowded. When I go through Clayton, Georgia a good bit, and I've watched the subdivision come up there in a nice area, and it's amazing how much the new subdivision came up, and it was nice houses and everything, but it just ruined what was there. And that's what I'm afraid is gonna happen out here, because that's one of our better building areas. And it has been for over 50 years, that was the area that was designed for the city to grow towards with their better homes.
yes, sir.
That's why I'm against anything except R1.
Ford, you got any questions?
Traffic wise, it seems to me if you build this the way it's planned, there's no option to make that road a 4-lane road. Could you shift those R1 lots to the west, I guess?
Well, and on an SC dot road, they would already have right-of-way, consistent with any plans they have for expansion. Am I right on that, Chrissy?
That is correct. I'm almost positive that's a 66-foot right-of-way, which can encompass a 4-lane road. I believe that's a 66-foot right-of-way currently out there, which can encompass a 4-lane road. If DOT just deems that that road, it should be improved and expanded.
Willie, got anything else?
Anything else?
One thing I want to say, I don't think anybody up here is in any way against any growth. And it's always been we want good qualified growth. And if we don't think it fits into what's there, that's a big strike.
I think when you say the R1, I do agree that I feel like we need to offer more R1 in town based on what has been accepted so far. And the R2 and the R3, to me, are in name only. And I think if the area of those lots is R1, then that nominally, makes it R1. And you can look, I think a lot of folks struggle with a long, thin lot, but I mean, look at Charleston. We can look at lots of different places that are more dense, but the lots, they just choose to go back. And I think the quality of homes and the fact that we are going to have a development agreement, because we're all nervous what's going to happen. Once you get started, you run out of money, or this happens or that happens. You guys are saying that we are going to do what we tell you we're going to do. And I think that protects, when we're talking about the city and what is good for the city, I think that's protecting us. And I think we're offering all R1, even though the width is not R1.
Yeah, and that's the idea. And actually, really, and we talk about meeting the area needs. Like I said, if I did all R1 here, I can go get 700 lots by your ordinance. We've already shown that plan. And so I'm not doing R1. I'm doing better than R1. I'm doing 7,500 square foot lots, which is your R1 and R3S. I'm
And
doing
a
85
clubhouse.
and a clubhouse and a
pool.
10 acre. And I'm doing 8,400
And a
square foot
common
lot.
area.
R2S is 8,400 square foot. R1 is 10,000 square foot. We're doing more than that. And then to answer the empty shopping centers, look, we would not be building the restaurants until the homes came, because the restaurants aren't going to come. And if these homes come and the other 2,200 homes come, those spots you're saying that are empty, including downtown, they're going to fill up. Because I can tell you, my family's been in that business my whole life. They've been generations past me. And the first thing they'll tell me is those homes got to come. And so, no, we're not going to build it and it be empty, because they're not going to come until we build the homes. And yeah, 2,200 lots and you got 500 here. You're not eating 2,200 lots and 500 homes in 1 year. You might eat 50 a year out of one neighborhood at most, 30, right? Just because this is 500 lots doesn't mean it's all getting put on the ground at the same time. Just because they got 2,200 lots doesn't mean they're putting it all on the ground at the same time. You're not eating through that annually. So I just say that to that. But and you need every bit of those if you want to fill those storefronts that are empty. And we only put the commercial in, by the way. I'm not a commercial developer. I prefer to stay out of it. And we brought Heath into this. We only put the commercial in because we had heard from city members, those within the city, that the people here want better restaurants and grocery stores. That's what we kept hearing. And so we tried to work with the city to put something together that the city wanted. I didn't present commercial to the county. I'm not a commercial, that's not what I do. But I did it, and we brought in someone who's an expert to give the city something they wanted in this, hopefully. We reduced our lots. We had a 10-acre park. Every lot in here is either R1 size or greater, and I'm willing to sign a development agreement that says I won't go less. And honestly, if you guys recommend you want more in that development agreement, please approve on those conditions. If you feel unprotected, we are willing to do what we say we're going to do. We are not the last developers who are national home builders. I know them. Who a land employee whose real boss sits in D.C. or Texas walked in here and said they were going to do something and they didn't do it. I sit right here. I'm where the buck stops in my company. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I might not be perfect, but I am somebody. I'm going to tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I stick to that one. So we're willing to sign a development agreement and put the conditions to it, you know, and to ease everyone's mind. So.
I appreciate that. I think we've discussed it to death, and I think we've all pretty much made up our minds, so I will make a motion that we deny your request to annex
Wait,
as
wait.
you proposed.
Wait,
Madam Chair, if you would, just before you make your recommendation or make a motion, I just want to point out there's two parts to this, an annexation and a zoning assignment. So you can either take them as separate items, or you can do that as one motion together.
okay,
I think
so
I'd like to
I
do it,
need,
yeah.
I need to ask,
Okay.
are there any motions regarding the annexation and zoning of these three parcels?
Are you asking if somebody wants to make a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I want to make a motion that we deny the annexation and the proposed zoning for this property.
All right, so with the motion being said,
Second.
second, all in favor, raise your right hand. All against, do we have to raise our hand? Yes? So 3-2 against. Is there another motion on the table? I'll make a motion that we approve the annexation and the zoning as presented. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? So it's approved 3-2 to go to council to make a decision. Thank you. Okay. All right. You guys are welcome to stay if you want, or you can head on out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
No. What it should have said is that the engineer who was in that lawsuit, and that's their engineer too. And it was because of the
Right.